a little over 2 years ago, I found myself with some time and sponsorless. I grew up down in Virginia, and when I moved up here, I chose to keep my sponsor in Virginia, and the relationship ended, and she went back out, and it was really hard for me to find a new sponsor, and I was going through some stuff, and I knew that if I stayed that way, I wasn't going to stay clean. And then the region had this bright friggin' idea to vote me in as alternate delegate. And I went to my first zonal forum with our then RD, Rob. And what he didn't know was that I spent the whole weekend interviewing him, asking a bunch of questions like we do. And I knew by the end of that weekend that God had put him right where I needed him to be. And I asked him to be my sponsor, and he said yes. And that might be strange to some people, but I will tell you that it works for me. He has, over the last 2 years, he's helped save me from myself. Finding myself with some clean time and some serious rage issues and not knowing what to do with them, picking up anger like it was dope. And he was the perfect person. If you know him, then you know. To show me that you can go through that, you can grow through that, and you can stay clean. He's my brother. I know that I can call him for anything, even when I have my lizard dying and I'm a friggin' mess, because I don't know what to do with this poor little amphibian, and he just sat on the phone with me for hours while I cried my eyes out before putting my lizard to sleep. That's the kind of person that Rob is, and I don't know how many people take the time to get to know him on that level. I don't know if anywhere else but West Virginia I can say my sponsor taught me how to shoot a gun. But he did. He has taught me above all that I can stay clean through anything. And his story has given me an eternal reason why whatever is going on in my life, I will never have a good enough excuse to pick up. And I know that he'll share some of that with you tonight. And without further ado, I give you one of my favorite people on the planet, my sponsor, my best friend, my brother, Rob O.
I'm an act called Rob. There for a second, I thought she was talking about somebody else. I was like, sweet, I don't have to do this. They said, they're piping this down to the other building, and the first thing I said when Joe told me that, I was like, sweet, I get to piss off people in 2 buildings. I have a knack for that. But, I don't have a knack for it. I've worked really hard at it. I'd like to thank the Mountaineer region for asking me to speak. I spoke here 8.5 years ago. Some of you have been dumb enough to buy the CD and listen to it, and I don't recommend it. I had it for 5 years, and I was at that I'm the most spiritual motherfucker alive phase. And if you got 5 years and you just said, well, I'm not there, I don't think I'm the most spiritual person. No, because you know you are. But you'll get better. Just keep coming back. Lately, my head's been really disjointed and all over the place, and so this is going to just jump and not make sense to most people. And thing is, most of you probably follow right along, but 24 hours ago, I was probably 10, 12 miles from the closest human being, deep in the middle of the Mon National Forest, and debating on whether I wanted to come back out or not. And I got up at 4 o'clock this morning so I could walk out of the forest in like 23-degree weather to be here. I'm still not sure why I walked out. But one of these days I'm going to walk into the forest and I'm not going to walk back out, but we'll get to that. I'm growing. Oh, shit. Just some backstory, if you really qualify. I mean, I'm here. Like, if I didn't use, then I'm evidently really fucked up and deserve to be here anyway. But I actually grew up just a couple hours north of here in like Benton and Meigs County, Ohio. So if any of you familiar with that area, you know I was born to use. My part of my family's why that one county is fairly notorious. So that's what I grew up in. I grew up in a family full of addicts and incredibly violent, abusive people. Sometimes those went hand in hand together, and sometimes it didn't. My father was a POW in Vietnam. He has scars all up and down his body. He endured hell that none of us can even come close to imagining. But he took a lot of that out on me. He actually, a while back, thanked me because he said that he really believed that if I hadn't been there for him to take it out on, that he would have killed himself. So I guess there's a positive to get the shit beat out of you. But I've really gotten to a point in my life where there's some closure with that shit, and just because like I so rarely tell like about the good stuff in my life, and I tend to focus on the bad shit. I have an 11-year-old little girl, and she's Katniss from the Hunger Games for Halloween, and she was insistent that she would be, for those of you who follow the story, Katniss from District 9, so she'd have the homemade bow and arrow. So I made one for her, and I sent a picture of it to my old man to show him what I'd made, and he texted me back and said, "You're a good dad." And after spending the last several years of going, I no longer care if I get his approval or not, like, I'm over that shit. And then that happened, and I sat there and almost cried, and because that's about as close as I can get to crying. It was almost crying, like I started to, which is an improvement for me, because I went like 20-some years and wouldn't cry at all, because the home I grew up in, the more you cried, the more you got hit. So if you quit crying, you probably get hit a little less. So I learned to stuff that shit down and stop. And it's because of you all that I'm learning to like let myself go and be vulnerable. But it's really, really hard. I got clean December 26th of 2000. So that's like 13 years and some change. And I'm not one of these, there's not rainbows shooting out of my ass. My life's not full of puppy dogs and lollipops. Like, sometimes shit's hard, and like, I'm screwed up. And like, I have a lot of screwed up shit to deal with in my own head, and alone in my life. And we put this expectation on people as they get time that like, that they should be at like this level of well, and I'm not always there. I'm rarely there. I doubt I've ever been to that level, actually. But the thing is, we judge people without really knowing them. And we just look at like what we hear 1 hour a night, a few nights a week, and we base our whole idea of a person on that short amount of time. And there's a shit ton of people in this room that I know, and know their name, and they can tell you things about their lives. There's a bunch of them that could do the same with me, but like, there's details of my life that, how many people in here know that like I won't eat bananas because the way they treat their workers in Central America, and I think it's fucking wrong. So I won't do it. Well, there's one brand I'll eat, and that's it, because they're like the most decent to their employees. But they're hard to find, you know. And I did the research to make sure they don't treat their employees like shit, you know. I have a whole list of things I boycott because I think that it's, you know, there's shit that's wrong in the world, and I refuse to participate in shit that I believe is wrong. You know, like, not many people are going to know that kind of stuff about me, because I don't go to a meeting and share it, and I don't feel the need to constantly tell all of you just how good I am. I try to be secure in it and just know that I am. But on the other hand, I tend, like I said, have a tendency to just tell you how bad I am, and I don't mention the other shit, and then I get torn because I'm like, well, I don't want to brag, you know. Because I see people do that. Like, a lot of us do a lot of really good things, and a lot of us do a lot of really good things and make sure we let every fucking person know that we did it too. And if you do that, you're obnoxious to the rest of us, so please stop. And you all thought of that person when I said it. And they're sitting there thinking it's you, so now I can't see you people. Okay, like I said, I was born in Ohio. It was a really fucked up family. You know, my entire childhood was just like fraught with sexual and physical and verbal and mental abuse, and I actually had a therapist one time call it the trifecta of abuse, you know, mental, physical, and sexual, and I was like, that almost makes it sound kind of cool. I have the trifecta, you know, no, it wasn't a fucking hat trick, you know, it was, that's my only hockey reference. It's probably actually my only sports reference. I'm sorry, just I don't follow that shit and don't understand it. But like I said, my head's just everywhere. And I have a suggestion to the convention subcommittee: don't tell someone 8 months before they're going to speak that they get to speak. Because I've already done this like 100 times in the shower and in the car, and unfortunately for you all, like, my cat got to hear the best shit, and so you all left with the scraps. But speaking of my cat, I'm gonna get it over with because, like, I have 2 cats and a dog. But my one cat, like, I really love my cat a lot. Like, my cat's my best friend. Everybody loves this cat. It's just a cool fucking cat. And, like, people hate cats like this cat. It's a cool cat. And she has cancer. And we're going to pull money out of our retirement to spend the $4,000 to take her to Ohio State University for 3 days and have the surgery to try and keep her alive. Because I love my cat that much. And someone said, where do you draw the line? And I said, I don't, you know. And I'm like that in all my relationships. I just went over a 4-step like 2 weeks ago with my sponsor, and you know, that's the first asset I wrote about is I'm loyal, sometimes to a fault. It is the thing that I respect the most in others also, is loyalty. And of the relationships I wrote with, each one I talked about how they're loyal and how much loyalty means to me. And my cat is my friend, and I'm loyal to her, and I will do whatever the hell I can to keep her alive. And if any of you want to laugh and make fun of me for crying about my cat, just come tell me that you did after the meeting. I don't care if you want to make fun of me, just do it to my face. That's, I don't care whatever you say about me. I just prefer people to say it to my face. That's, if you heard I've said something awful about you, if I didn't say it to your face, that's not true, because I would have said it to your face. If I don't like you, I will let you know I don't like you. I wear my emotions like right out there on my sleeve where everyone can see them. If I'm not happy, you know I'm not very happy. It's very apparent. And sometimes I use that to my advantage, and I know it. And I bully people and intimidate people because I can. And it works. It gets results. And any more of those results fucking hurt, and I don't like doing it. I have tried so hard to create this image of this big raging asshole, and not too hard. Some of it come naturally, but like Christina said, not that many people get the opportunity to actually know me, and I have effectively pushed people away so that they don't get the opportunity, and now I kind of regret that. But sometimes it's like one of those things that may be a little too late. My God, there's a lot of fucking people. Yeah. Hello to the people in the other building. Everybody say hi to the other people. So yeah, it's not you were actually listening to me. Okay, let's get back on track here. Fucked up family, bounced around a lot, spent some time in the system, bounced around like from family member to family member, like whichever one wanted the welfare check for the time for getting me. How that usually worked. I found out later on they were being compassionate. It's just I was worth like $800 a month. I left home at 17. And by the time I was 17, I was already a complete, total fucking train wreck. I won't talk too much about using it. I don't get into specific drugs, but I shot up on my 16th birthday for the first time and fell in love. And I remember the guy told me, he looked at me, he goes, "Do you like it?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Well, enjoy it because it'll never feel that good again." And I spent like the next 8 years trying to prove him wrong. He wasn't. It never got any better. It was the best it ever was. And I destroyed everything in my path trying to prove him wrong. But like I said, I won't go in. It doesn't matter what I used. I just used a lot of it, and a lot of it. And side note, just something shiny in my head went somewhere else. Due to active addiction, I have had to have a couple of nasal surgeries to put my nose back together. Go figure. So if you wear cologne or perfume, it hurts me to smell it. So if you have it on, please don't hug me. Because I'll smell it for the next hour and it'll make me sick. I have to go shower and it hurts and causes nosebleeds and fun stuff like that. So it's physically unpleasant. So just pat me on the shoulder and say hi. Shit we don't think about, but and that's a direct result from active addiction. Sticking around my nose, he's like, "You have no cartilage in there." I have no idea what you're talking about. It must have fallen out while I was asleep. Yeah, I'd have like my nose complete twice. I've had to have like rebuilt kits and I had like parts of my throat and tongue cut out, and that's just in the past like year. And this past year has been pretty tough. Like physically. I had 3 surgeries in like a 5-month period, 3 major surgeries, like my elbow taken apart and then 2 major throat and nasal surgeries. And was really sick, and then a whole lot of pain, and you know, taking a lot of shit I didn't like having to take, and feeling really bad and really low, and didn't want to go to meetings, and you know, there were people here that checked on me anyway and made sure I was all right. Well, I was talking to someone like a month ago and told me that there were a few people that didn't think it was right that I was coming to speak because I had to take pain medication after surgery, and to them that was using. And when you're in that situation, you have to deal with that shit to begin with. Your head's already screwing with you and telling you really horrible, bad shit. And then when one of us goes and says some stupid shit like that, especially when you go and tell it to the person, we're risking putting their life in fucking jeopardy. Because, oh, I'd never do it. You know, well, let me cut out the 5-inch strip of your fucking tongue and see how you feel. You know? See what you start screaming for. You know? When, they're giving you medication just to make you stop screaming because you're in so much fucking pain. The thing is, I didn't enjoy it at all. And plus, I wasn't really a downer guy. I don't like speedy, go fast, race shit. But how I am. And if that's how you feel about that, though, then that's your own personal choice. And like, when you express that to people, you risk killing people. Because it made me not want to come. If they think I'm using, fuck them, why go? And I'll tell you now, I didn't use. I took it less than it was prescribed. I took less than was offered to me on multiple occasions. And for months, I laid on my couch and fucking suffered. Suffered pain beyond anything I could imagine. I'd rather pass 100 kidney stones than go through that again. So don't be so quick to judge people, because you don't understand what they're going through unless you went through it yourself. And you know, we have the tendency to get holier than thou after we've been clean a while. At least I did, and I've seen a couple others do it too. A couple thousand others. And we forget that sometimes life's really hard and it puts us in situations where we have to make decisions we're not comfortable with. It makes us do things that we're not comfortable with. Today I wanted to get rid of that, point out that elephant sitting in the room, because that's been, and you know what, all this is probably just in my own head since then, but it has bugged me nonstop. You know, I don't know about any of you, but like sometimes shit gets stuck in my head and it won't go away, no matter how much I want it to. And there's a line from a song I love. It's like, then I'm wide awake and I'm taking names, you know, because that's me at 4 o'clock in the morning making a list of every motherfucker I want to kill. And by 8 o'clock, I've fallen, you know, by the morning I've fallen back to sleep and I'm over it. But in the middle of the night, I've wanted to kill most of you. I guess that's something, like, I'm not afraid to admit that I'm really fucked up. And that I have really screwed up thoughts. I mean, my thinking is just fucking out there sometimes. Like, sometimes it makes me shudder. Like, shit, did you really just think that? Like, no, that's bad. Stop it. And, yeah, like the sticker, first thought wrong. Like, sometimes I'm on, like, 8th thought wrong. And, you know, 8th thoughts, like, I'm going to eviscerate that motherfucker with an ink pen, so you can imagine what the first 7 were like. And, so I really don't, like, try not to trust my own thinking, period. Like, if I have an emotion attached to a thought, I try to not act on that thought. Because if I'm making decisions emotionally, things are really screwy. And And I default to anger. That's my default emotion. Like my wife defaults to cry, sad and cry. If anything's overwhelming, she gets sad and cries. I get overwhelmed, I want to kill everyone. I go straight to anger. I'm pissed off. I hate the world, and I'm going to burn it the fuck down. And the worst thing you can do at that moment is use logic to talk me down. Well, let's be reasonable. Yeah, come here. Let's be reasonable. I called Chris one time. I was like, he's like, what are you doing? I texted him, call me as soon as you can, because I figured he was in the meeting. I was like, see, he's in the meeting, so he won't be able to call me back. Ha, 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 and then I can go do this shit anyway. And he called me right back. He's like, yeah, I decided not to go to the meeting. He's like, what's going on? I said, sitting in the truck. And he's like, okay. I said, I need you to tell me it's not okay idea to go shoot this son of a bitch. He's like, that's really not a good... Are you sitting in your truck? I was like, yes. Do you have a gun? Well, yeah. He said, well, it probably is a good idea to shoot them, but you shouldn't do it anyway. And I calmed down. We talked for half an hour, and then nobody got shot. And the funny thing is like, one of my really, like, my best friend by far is like the most gentle, caring, loving person, and everybody thinks he's just absolutely sweet, and everybody loves him. And I'm the big raging asshole that everybody's, frightened of. He has punched someone outside of a meeting. I have never hit anybody at a meeting. Before a meeting, during a meeting, after a meeting, I have never hit anybody. Thought about it. Threw a chair once, and it accidentally hit someone. I just threw it on the ground, and it bounced and hit someone. It happened to hit the guy I was pissed off at, which was just good luck on my part. But yeah, the thing is, like, I still get that thrown in my face, and like in my hometown in Fairmont, West Virginia, like sort of a couple people that have moved there after the fact, like, there's nobody there from when I got clean. Like, nobody was there for that incident, yet I get it thrown in my face on a regular basis. And until Nick got turned into a vegetable while using, he had forgiven me. So, get over it. I threw a chair when I had, like, 6 months clean because I couldn't handle shit. I'm the only person it's ever happened to, I think. But, now I did yell at someone in a meeting 3 weeks ago, which I owe that meeting an apology. And then I yelled at someone in the parking lot who was just trying to, like, be nice to me and calm me down. I apologized to him already. Not apologizing to the guy I yelled at. I just feel no remorse. But, I am a huge advocate of our traditions. And if you share your religious beliefs in a meeting, I am going to say something. If you bash on a religion in a meeting, I am going to say something. Either way, it doesn't belong in a fucking meeting. And I won't tolerate it. Because that shit will kill people. Because if somebody said that kind of stuff when I got clean, I would have walked out the door and never come back. Because the biggest resentment I had when I got here was God and religion. But at the time, it was just God, and religion was tied into that, because those two things went hand in hand together for me. And one of the biggest struggles I've had in my recovery is developing a relationship with the God of my understanding. And if other people are forcing their beliefs on me, I immediately go into shutdown mode and don't want to talk about it at all. It's the worst thing you can do. And I know I'm not the only person that feels that way. If it's your belief, it's your belief, and that's great. And enjoy it, love it, and go with it and do it. And I know people that are very devout in their religions and never mention it in an NA meeting. Because I don't go to church and talk about NA. Because someone told me that to carry the message to the addict who still suffers, the most effective place for me to do that is at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. Because guess what? There's a bunch of fucking suffering addicts there. And so that's the best place for me to go and do that. And I feel the same. And like I said, even if somebody's bashing it, I have no tolerance for it. If something's an outside issue, it's an outside issue, and it needs to stay outside. That's how it got told to me when I got clean. There were some people that were rather rude to me when I got clean. Eddie was one of them, and then this guy T-Tag John. Both of them were rather rude on a regular basis, and thank God for it, because I wouldn't have responded to anything else. I understood, shut the fuck up and sit down. I got that. Oh, we love you. Just made my skin crawl. You don't know me. Fuck away. But I responded to kind of angry and rough, and now I understand there are some people that would completely fall apart if you acted that way to them, and wouldn't handle it very well. That's why there's all sorts of different people here. Because there are people that will give you what you need, whether you want it or not. If you're a sit down and shut up kind of person, there are people that will do that for you. If you just need someone to hold your hand through things and pat you on the bottom, then there's people that'll do that too. I'm not one of them. Don't come to me for that. If you need somebody like lace up the boots to go trudging through the shit with you, I'm there. I'm your guy. But if you need a shoulder to cry on, I'm probably not the best person for that. Because eventually I'll just set the phone down. That's what I have. Am I done yet? I really wanted to have this really uplifting and spiritual thing, have everybody just feeling all happy and spiritual and floating around the room, and because I've seen some people do that. It's very uplifting and feels really great, and but I'm just not like that, and those kind of people tend to annoy me, and like I said, last night I was in the middle of the woods, totally by myself, and just me, like a squirrel and a bobcat that come walking through. That was it. And I got up this morning. It was like 20-some degrees, and by the time I walked out 5.5 miles to my car, I thought I had frostbite on my finger, and I felt better than I had in weeks. Something I have come to understand about myself, I am not a real social person. I'm not real big on crowds. I had a sponsor one time, I told him that. It's like, I don't do real well with crowds. He's like, oh, we'll work on that. It's like, why? He's like, well, we need to fix that. I was like, no, there's nothing wrong. You see, it's this belief that we have that if it's different than us, then it's wrong. For that person, he's very social, does well in large crowds of people. That's not me. And why should I try to force myself to be someone I'm not? I did that during active addiction. There's a real good chance that I'm going to end up in the middle of the woods someday and not come out. And I could live that way very easily. And for those of you who that makes no sense to you whatsoever, sorry, I'm probably saying a bunch of shit that's going to offend you too. But this is part of me realizing who I am and becoming comfortable with that, and being okay with the fact that I'm not a social butterfly, and that I still get nervous in crowds. I still like to sit with my back facing the wall. I still don't like to use public bathrooms because I've been jumped too many times. There's things that just I don't do well in society. like, I was the line in the book where it says we no longer advocate long withdrawals from society. I'm like, why not? That sounds beautiful. Some people are made for that and some aren't, and I'm that kind of person that's like, I can spend days on end by myself and be okay with that. Or I can spend days on end with just a few people, and I'm okay with that. I've had to learn, like, to walk that fine line between solitude and isolation, because there is a difference. And the way I figured out how to, like, to decipher the two, or which one I'm going through, if the thought of someone coming home fills me with dread, I'm isolating. If I'm like, shit, my daughter will be home in like an hour, and that bothers me, that like I want to have to interact with someone else, then I'm isolating. And yes, I just said that sometimes my daughter can bother me. And if you have kids and you spend enough time with them, they bother you too. Because I'm sure someone will have to call my ex-wife and tell her we're upset that he hates your daughter. My ex-wife hasn't been to me in several years. And to this day, if I say her name or mention her in any way, like if I say, I'm grateful for the fact that we actually have a really good working relationship and can get along well to do the right thing for my daughter, within an hour I will hear about it. Someone will fucking text her and tell her. Because some of us like chaos and like to create it for other people so they can feel as bad as we do. I've done it, and I bet other people have done it too. But like the thing is now, like she pretty much just ignores that stuff because she knows if I had a problem with her, I'd tell her. Just like I do with just about anybody. But if you do that shit, knock it off, because like people fuck their lives up enough on their own without your help. You don't have to like make it up that I did something stupid. Wait a minute, I'll do something stupid all on my own without any encouragement from anybody else. It's just natural talent. I'm trying to have fun with this. I was just taking somebody else's CD and played it for an hour, and like, that sounds really good. I know I'm not listening to this shit when it's over. Let's see. I'm going to move into some like bad shit, I guess. See, I tell a lot of this stuff because, like, we all show up here with, like, baggage. I backed up the moving truck. It's like, I had a ton of shit to deal with. And the thing is like, I've continued, like, life has continued to throw piles of garbage or bags of garbage on the pile since I've been clean. Like, it didn't stop, my friend George shared it a couple years ago on Sunday mornings, and to me, you can't say it any better. He's like, life does not get better. I get better. And life has continued to throw stupid shit at me through my entire time I've been clean. And I have walked through all of it. Sometimes I've walked out smelling like shit, and looking pretty rough, but I've walked through every bit of it and have not had to use. July 17th of 2011, I was driving home from a friend's house, and I was coming through Ohio, and outside of Athens, and I got in an accident, and I rear-ended two people on the highway, and they both died. I was then, because the way the laws are written in that great state, was brought up on criminal charges, even though I hadn't been drinking. The urine was clean, He's like, would you take a drug test? Like, yeah, I have to pee, give me the cup. It wasn't malicious, wasn't on my phone. But family made a really big stink out of it, which, I would have too. I have to be understanding of that. Like, I wouldn't have handled it well either if it's been reversed. Probably more poorly than they did, knowing me. And I ended up, I just had a license suspension and some fines. But drug on for over a year. Actually, 1 year and 1 week, to be exact, until it was all finalized. I had just gotten married 3 weeks before the accident. That happened on a Sunday. On Wednesday night, I was sitting in a meeting, and all these people were complaining about how hard their life was, and how bad everything sucked, and their mom yelled at them, and they'd had a bad day, and they didn't understand why they had to pay rent, and it got to me, and like I said, I'd just gotten married, I had a really good job, and things were going really well in my life, and I said, I'm sitting here, and I realized that the most difficult thing in my life right now is, do I get a Road King or an Ultra Classic? And some of you know what I'm talking about. And those of you who don't, you won't get it either way. But 5 days later, I had something a whole lot worse to worry about. And a while back, I heard some girls saying to me, well, I have nothing to worry about today. Well, that's really good. I cringed. She's like, please don't say that. And nothing bad's happened to her, so that's good. I wouldn't wish this shit on anybody. It's a level of horrible that you can't even begin to describe. And except maybe I'll accept the fact that there's probably a handful of people in the room that will understand exactly how I felt. But most of you can't even begin to conceive how that feels. And that's okay, because you've gone through shit I can't begin to conceive how it feels either. But I can care about you regardless. And the next night, I went to a meeting. Actually, guys showed up at my house. I said, you're going to the meeting. And escorted me to the meeting. And when you watch boxing or fights and stuff, how when a guy comes to the ring, there's all those guys around him, surrounding him and taking him out for the fight. That's how I walked into the meeting that night. Completely surrounded with people. They walked me over and waited till I sat down in the chair, then they dispersed amongst the crowd. And this lady was sharing the Just for Today on that day was something to do with when in desperation. And she said, well, I go to meetings, and I work steps, and I practice powerlessness, and I've done all these things in my life, and I no longer, to come to Narcotics Anonymous in desperation. And I spoke up when she was done. I was like, we're 10 years clean, and been to thousands of meetings, been to hundreds of meetings on powerlessness and surrender, and I once again find myself in desperation, seeking help from others in Narcotics Anonymous. And then I spent the next 2.5 years waging fucking war on myself. And those same guys keep showing up at my fucking house, and making sure that I'm okay. My poor wife has had to stand there and just watch as I go through this horrendous fucking process. And to her credit, I've never one time doubted that she wouldn't be there. And if you don't have that in your life, I feel sorry for you. I hope someday you do, because that's an amazing fucking thing. And I'm not saying this just because my wife said me. So I'll say good shit about her. She's not here too. guys that really went above and beyond to make sure I was okay. And, like I said, I've really struggled with the whole God thing. Now, you could turn this into a philosophical discussion and say, like, well, maybe God influenced them to be there or whatever it may be. But when it comes down to it, who showed up at my house was my Chris and Trevor. That's who was there. That's, and then Benjamin showed up a month later and stayed. Because he went through some really horrible shit too, and we went batshit crazy together. And we try to out-sorrow each other. My shit hurts worse because of this. But that's what we needed at that time, and we helped each other heal. And the steps have been really important to me, and I've heard a lot of people do kind of an hour workshop on steps when they're up here, and I like that because I like hearing this stuff, and I like getting information. But I'm of the opinion if you want to know what the steps do in your life, work them and find out, because it's a very personal experience for everybody, and everybody gets something different out of it. The relationship with the God of my understanding, why it has changed and fluctuated back and forth so much through the years, and it's completely fluid because it doesn't hold still and doesn't keep form for very long. But it does exist, and it's been important to me. Service work has been vitally important, keeping me connected, making me feel like I have an obligation to Narcotics Anonymous, because I fucking do have an obligation. It saved my life. I owe it something. The one thing, and I share this every time I share, the one thing to me that's the absolute most important, the best thing I have gotten from Narcotics Anonymous, the one thing that's meant more than anything else are the relationships I've developed with other people. Because, step 6 didn't show up at my house to drag my ass to the meeting, ENRD didn't drag my ass to the meeting. Chris, Trevor, and Mike drove my ass to the meeting and showed up at my house every fucking day, even when I didn't want them to, because they were afraid to leave me alone for very long. And I don't. That was a legitimate concern, The day after, I told my wife, I was like, maybe we should store my guns at someone else's house for a couple of days. She'd already made arrangements for that. But, and yes, I did teach Christina how to shoot a gun. And I've taught a lot of people how to shoot a gun, how to safely shoot a gun without fucking hurting themselves, or me, or anybody else. When I left the woods this morning, I went and picked up my friend Chris, and we took the long route here and meandered our way across the state to get here. Then we stopped at the shooting range for a couple hours and threw some lead, and it smelled like cordite, and we're happy. And then came here. And if you don't know what that means, then Google. But it's one of those things I do to get centered. It's a hobby. It's something I enjoy. It makes me feel better. So it's something I can exert power over. And I think that's important that we have that in our lives sometimes. We need something to exert power over, because sometimes being powerless can leave you feeling really fucked up. It even says in the book, that it creates a void. And and I've learned that sometimes the best thing I can do is find something to exert power over. Go for a run, scream out loud at something, turn the music up and sing along at the top of your lungs, beat the shit out of a pillow. Whatever you do, as long as it didn't hurt somebody else, then you'll probably feel better when you're done. Those are the kind of things I got taught when I got clean. I was given active strategies of things to do. Not just, pray about it. I really think that when you have no real answer, that's what you throw at people. Well, you need to pray about it. Okay, well, what do I do with the other 23 hours, 59 minutes and 52 seconds of my day? For 8 seconds, I prayed and I was at peace. Now what the hell do I do? Go for a walk. Do something to get out of yourself. Do something nice for someone else. And then don't tell anybody, especially at the meeting, repeatedly. Don't get me wrong, I like attention just as much as the rest of you. Well, maybe not as much as some of you, but we all like attention, but we can go a bit overboard. So that's the thing, like I recognize all this shit because I see it in myself. I can point it out in you because I've seen me do it too. And there's a good chance I'm pointing it out because I've seen me do it and I know what happened. And I really don't want that to happen to you. And sometimes it's really not me being a big raging asshole. It's me trying to save you from the pain I went through myself. And I don't like going and telling someone that they're doing something stupid. I really don't. I don't enjoy it. I don't sit around and go, oh boy, I can't wait to go tell them what a dumbass they are. I really don't. Okay, I just fucking lied. Right in front of all of you. There are a handful of people I like to call dumbass. Let's rephrase that. I don't like going and telling people that they're doing really hurtful shit that's going to fuck someone up. Them or someone else. I don't like having to do it. So if I'm doing that with you, realize that I've went through this internal dialogue to get there where I didn't want to do it. But at the end of the day, I care more about you than I do your ego or mine. I have people in my life that will call me out, like all the ones that just look at me like, holy shit, did you really just say that? I don't know if it's any of you, but I like to lie. I do a lot, and I really enjoy it. Like, I love making up stories. Like I love being in the airport. Layovers at the airport are wonderful because I can be whoever the fuck I want to be. I will make it up right there on the spot. Just completely string a bunch of shit together that sounds really cool for no fucking reason whatsoever. You laugh because you do it too. And I remember when I first got clean, I heard this guy share at a meeting about how he liked going to out-of-town meetings because he'd lie about how much clean time he had. And I thought, what a great idea. And I wish to God I could stand here and tell you I've never done that, but it'd be a lie. It really wasn't a great idea, and I feel bad about it now. But I'm sick. I'm at this point where, like, I'm just no longer afforded the luxury of denial. I don't get to lie to myself about it anymore. I mean, I lie, but I don't get to lie to myself. I know I'm a liar, and I've gotten to the point where dishonesty just hurts anymore. And when I do it, I really regret it. And so I've been practicing really hard not to do it anymore. And one guy I was talking to, I was like, well, man, now I've told these lies, like, what do I do? I got to go meet every person I've ever told a lie to and tell them the truth. He's like, just quit fucking lying. I'm like, what a brilliant idea. That's just really, like, I planned out this whole thing where I was going to fly all over the country and find all these people. And it was just as simple as, like, well, stop doing it, dipshit. I'll let you know when I start. Or when I stop, actually. What'd you say, Alan? Yeah. Good God. Am I done yet? Almost.
You're done when you're done.
Okay. He's like, well, he told me that earlier. I was like, do you realize what you just said to me. I could go for hours, but I won't. Yeah, I don't care. I used to care about how many CDs they had sold of mine. Like, I would go and ask and check, because I want to know if I'd sold more than other people. Yeah, because I'm the only egotistical person in this room. Look at me. Oh, there's like so many of you just looked at me like, I would never do that. You lying bastard. But I'm beyond that.
I make good coaches.
Make good targets. Play shooting. All right, because I just managed to jump right off that topic about the accident, because it hurts, and I like to avoid shit that hurts. Said I spent the last several years waging war on myself over it, and nobody could tell me how to deal with those emotions. And then I'm gonna share some things, and then I'll stop. This is the last story. This is some deeper shit. I realized at one point that I just wasn't getting better. I just was getting progressively worse every day. And I realized that it was just a short amount of time before I either beat the shit out of my wife and kid, or I used, which both those things would lead to the same thing. Because like you said, violent history and violence begets violence. And luckily that cycle has stopped with me. My daughter's never had a hand laid on her. And she doesn't know what that fear feels like. You can do this to her and she doesn't flinch, because she's never been fucking hit. And I want to keep it that way. But I realized that I was right at the edge of just everything coming completely apart, and I sought outside professional help. And I don't like to say that, because that's weak shit, weak pussies go do that stuff. Not me. I'm fucking big and badass and handle anything, and I was a complete fucking mess. And I went to this place. Now, the truck that I was driving the day I got in an accident, I'd had a dog that I had to have put down. And the day after I got the truck, I had to take the dog and have her put down. So her name was Annabelle, and I named the truck after my dog, because I'm from West Virginia and we name our trucks. And I saw a bunch of thumbs up. They get it. So my truck's name was Annabelle. Well, I get to this place to go where they deal with dealing with trauma and stuff and helping people process through that. And there's this really pretty young lady I sit next to, and they're sat next to me, and we start talking. Her name's Annabelle. And they split us up into these groups, and she ends up in my group. And throughout the week, while we're processing through our shit, at one point, they kept her and I back when everybody went for lunch, and they said, Annabelle, tell Robert why you're here. Several years ago, her mom was driving home from work, and a guy crossed the double yellow line, hit her head on, and killed her. And she was having trouble accepting it. And I immediately took on the blame. Like it was me that did it. And I wanted to apologize to her and tell her how horrible I was, and I knew how horrible I was. And later that week, as she's dealing with her stuff and she's going through her process, when she's done with this one thing, they said, everybody, they wanted you to comment on it. And all I could say was, never one time did I hear her blame the guy that did it. She spun on me. I mean, a little bitty thing, barely 5 feet tall, sticks her finger in my face and said, it wasn't your fucking fault. And, I don't know what gave that day, but at that moment, something fucking broke and let go, and I fell fucking apart. And I cried and fucking cried in front of other people, people I didn't even know that well, and but it set something off inside. And to me, there was just so many fucking coincidences there. And the quote by Yogi Berra is too coincidental to be coincidence. And I think she showed up in my life when I needed her there the most. And her and I are still friends and talk on a regular basis. This past summer, on the anniversary of the wreck, which was the third anniversary of the wreck, I decided that I just couldn't stand being around people any longer, and I loaded up some stuff and dropped into the woods for a couple days and disappeared. And me and my wife knew kind of where I was, but and where I was really beautiful, and there's rhododendrons. I'm walking through like a jungle of rhododendrons, and they were in bloom at this time of year. Like the bee balm and the rhododendrons were blooming, and I really love flowers, and I love plants, and I like planting stuff, and that's one of those things that if you didn't know me, you'd never find out about. But it was just gorgeous, and these beautiful, brilliant white blooms everywhere. And like the whole time I'm walking, it's the anniversary of the wreck, and I'm thinking about their names are Fred and Mary. They're human beings; they deserve to be known by their names. And I was thinking about them, and I kept thinking about all the things that people said about them in court. And it talks about how wonderful these two people were, and what a shame it was because they were such wonderful people. And I said out loud, because I'm in the middle of the woods, so I'm talking to myself, and I said, if you were as good as everyone said you were, then you would forgive me. And I come around the corner, and in this sea of white blooms is one pink bloom right at eye level. Maybe it's just a random coincidence that bloom showed up there, but I chose to see it as them saying yes. And I then went on to have the realization that the most disrespectful thing I could do to those two people was to continue to sit in my house filled with loathing and hatred for myself and, slowly trying to kill myself with food, which is exactly what I was doing. And not only did I need to go out and live my life to its fullest to show respect to them, I needed to finish theirs for them. And since then, I have gone on several trips and gone and done things and tried to live my life to its fullest. I am 20 years after graduating, dropping out of high school. I am a freshman at Pierpont Community College. And as of midterm, I had straight A's. Which I don't get at all, because I wait the last minute to write papers. I don't study. It's really amazing to have good grades. But I'm trying, and I hope they know that I'm trying. And I really hope that their family has come to some sort of acceptance and some sort of peace with it also. But I couldn't carry it anymore. I have a couple more minutes left, I think. I'm going to go back to what I said about trying to kill myself with food. 2 years ago, the doctor told me, January 2 years ago, the doctor told me that if I didn't do something different, that I would be lucky to live for 2 more years. My heart's really screwed up. It's really strange. I don't get it. You pump that much shit in your arm, maybe in a bathroom somewhere, and your heart goes bad. I don't get it. But and like I said, the old saying, I put down a spoon and picked up a fork. I weighed 170 pounds when I got clean, and January 1st of this year, I was 389 pounds. And when I had my second surgery, I hemorrhaged and through blood clots, and it was really sketchy for a while. And a lot of that's because my health was so poor. As of yesterday morning, I've lost 96 pounds. out there for a while because Brett's just so fucking good. And I went from like taking insulin 4 times a day to once a day. I've cut a bunch of the medications I had to take out of my diet because it got to where like my morning medicines was like a meal. And none of them made me high, which really sucked. And it's like all those years I wanted to take pills, and now I got to, and they don't do shit. Except keep me alive. That's not important. And it's like when I make my mind up to do something, I'm going to do it. It's just how it goes. I've been that way for a long time. When they say we don't have any willpower, that's bullshit. We got tons of willpower. We're some of the most willful motherfuckers you'll ever meet. Tell us we can't do something and watch us go. I just wish I didn't have to keep coming to the point of almost dying to get there. That I could make those changes without having to have enough pain first. And I'm better than I was. But I'm nowhere as good as I can be. And I'm alive today because of Narcotics Anonymous. I've had the opportunity to walk through really horrible shit because of Narcotics Anonymous. I've got to have a life that far exceeds any expectation I or anyone else ever fucking had for me because of Narcotics Anonymous. And I owe a debt of gratitude that can never be paid to my predecessors. I was going to say I have a pet peeve. I don't really have pet peeves. I have like irrational hatred of certain things. And one of them is that I earned my seat here. You did what? You used fucking drugs. That's all you did was use drugs. Your predecessors earned your fucking seat. And they're giving it to you now. So sit in it and listen to them. And maybe you can become a predecessor also for someone else. They earned that seat for you, so treat it with some fucking respect. Quit fucking pussyfooting around during the meeting and playing grab ass and acting like a fucking fool. Pay attention to what the people who came here before you have to say. And this really is the very last thing. Tomorrow night, during that Clean Time Countdown, you know how we lose our fucking minds when we get down to like, did you use on the way here? And I'm glad that we do. Like, those people need love. But you know who else needs it? The first person that fucking stands up. The one that 4 people do this for. The one that everybody fucking ignores. That's the person who needs that love also. Because they've been showing up for 30, 35, 40, 50 fucking years, doing this every night for years. And they deserve that respect. So if you came here before me, thank you for being here and making sure that there was somewhere for me to come. And if you come here after me, thanks for coming and allowing me to do the same thing. So that's all I got.